All right.
Driveline R&D podcast.
Oh, no.
Episode 42. This is Caravan, co-host, data science manager, and drinking the same wine that Brady's drinking. I don't know what this wine's called though, but it tastes okay.
In honor of our guest today, I'm Kyle Lindley, sports engineer, Driveline Baseball. And one of our guests today, he's a big IPA fan, so I'm drinking a Bale Breaker Top Cutter IPA.
Oh, you made that up. That's not a real beer.
I'm Anthony Brady.
You said you're drinking a leaf cutter fucking Scyther, dude? That's a Pokemon. That's not a beer.
Big ass
And
IPAs.
I'm wearing it on my shirt too.
That's Zapdos, bro. You can't fool me. Come on now.
Yeah, I'm Anthony Brady, primary host, Driveline Research and Drinks podcast. As Caravan mentioned, just some red wine for me. And today we got a guest.
Yeah, we got all our bosses, Kyle Boddy, which means I'll keep my jokes at least 20% reduced. That being said, just wanted to intro the man himself. He carries a lot of titles. Actually, unofficial holder of most titles in Twitter bio. So without further ado, Boddy, even though everyone that follows our podcast knows who you are, you want to give us a quick background check and which of your favorite titles? Which one's your favorite title?
Well, breaking news. I'm going to break some news on this podcast, dude. I'm coming on with some fresh news, dude.
Heard it here first.
My titles have been reduced. So there you go.
Ooh.
I am not a coordinator anymore. I am now the director of pitching of the Reds. How about that?
Let's go.
Director of pitching?
When this happened?
That's tight.
I'm the director of pitching. Yeah, because I
What?
told them I'm not reporting to Eric Jagers, bro. No chance. No chance.
And
So,
I think we
no,
have Jagers in the waiting room, so Jagers, feel free to fill.
Oh
us
my
in
God,
with,
that's
with
Eric Jagers music, dude.
That's awesome though. That when that is so that's not official yet.
Yeah, I mean, no one watches this, right? So we're good. No, it's official. Yeah, it's a done deal as of
Holy
today.
shit. We need to change all the tweets right now. Breaking news, interviewing new director of pitching.
I mean,
Right, I got a 10-year deal and everything. Nope,
Yeah.
no, I didn't. So
Actually
Jeff
taking over
Passan-
Pro Bowl.
Jeff Passan better cite this podcast for his
good
tweet.
point. That's right.
Yeah.
Breaking news, dude.
That's how we get more views. Damn. Wait. So director of pitching. How many times now is this directorness for you? Was this your second bout? Third?
Wow.
Former director of R&D, former director of pitching, director of player development, now current
director of pitching initiatives. Please, director of pitching initiatives, and then the director of kitchen savagery.
Oh yeah, there we go.
Director of player development at. I just hold 2 director titles now. Director of player development at Driveline Baseball. Yeah, and then director of pitching.
And did you say what you're drinking? You're ripping a Coors Light today?
Come on now. You all know that. There it is. Busted one right there. There you go.
Silver bullets.
Hold on. Let me rotate it. It deserves more respect for that. There we go.
They're blue.
Wow, there's there's a Reds coach's account in the comments section already saying "Go Reds."
That's my YouTube. That's my other YouTube, dude. I did that to juice the viewers.
There we go. Reds coach.
It actually is. It is. It's not me, but it is. That is my other. That's our internal video, Johnson.
Nice.
Oh, that might actually be Jiggers, huh?
Could be. Jiggers would definitely work in an insult if it was him.
So initial opening question. Feel free to answer as briefly or as non-briefly as possible. I blanked on antonym there for a second, but what after 1 year on the Reg, what's kind of the biggest takeaway in terms of just different operations, Driveline Baseball, Reds? What are your key takeaways, and what kind of surprised you from what your expectations were going in?
Yeah, that's a great question, Alex. You're a great interviewer.
Cut the interview.
Call it there. That's gonna be the clip for this for the Twitter. I think the biggest surprise is just how far along the players were. They were already very receptive to the information. So when you show them stuff like sample motion capture report or TrackMan data or whatever, even though it's foreign to them and new, they pick it up pretty quick because they've seen a lot on Twitter, or they've heard about it. Yeah, you just kind of underestimate, you can get kind of locked down and insular at Driveline. You get it's just like, oh wow, like these kids have been seeing it for a long time, especially the new college graduate kids that have played only a year of pro ball. They just know a lot. I think that was the biggest surprise. It's like, dang, like they're already in tune. Walter Rapsodo, I'm like, oh yeah, our college has that. Kind of used it a few times, and then when you just help them out, kind of clarify some stuff, they love it. It's really not a fight at all with the kids. They love it.
How much of your work with the Reds this year was similar and also just different from what you did at Driveline in the previous, handful of years as Driveline's gotten bigger? Is it how similar or different are the roles?
Yeah, pretty different. I do a lot of logistics, it's like I've just do the 30-day looking schedule. If we had a minor league season this year, I would have done a ton of that. Just trying to figure out where people are getting assigned, who are going to play, what the playing time is looking like, making roster decisions. It's a lot of that, a lot of communication, a lot of educating the coaches. In that regard, that's pretty similar to what we've always done at Driveline with certification classes and internal and good to learn. Founder on this call, won't say who it is. That's me. I did it. It was all me. But point is that was all similar. But then there was just a lot of differences with just logistics. There was just way more logistics than here. Not that I knew that was going to be the case, but yeah, that was the biggest difference.
That was something I was kind of curious about with the COVID season as well. Do you think the shortened season, weird minor league deal, all that being axed, do you think that made your job more difficult or a little bit simpler compared to what it would be if it was a regular season? And do you think that affected how kind of what you brought to pro ball was perceived by the organization or the players or whatever?
I literally just blanked. I just drank too much Coors Light too fast. I literally just missed that. I'm not joking. What was that again?
So do you think the COVID, as far as the COVID season went?
Oh yeah. All right. I got it now. Okay. Sorry. As a man who has beaten COVID, it's triggering sometimes hearing that word. Yeah. It's in a lot of ways it played to our strengths, right? Because our remote training and all that, set it up on a tee. So for a lot of people that had issues with it, I talked to people in the game and they're like, man, this is something I've never had to do. It's just pretty lucky that we have had to do that before, and so we set up a Slack, put all the players in it, shared videos every week, had check-ins, had Google Sheets and all that. Just had like a KPI dashboard and all that, and encouraged people to share. And so then when it came time for fall instructional league, we rewarded the players that engaged the most and got the most out of the period. So then we brought a bunch of players in who a lot of our pro scouts in front office hadn't seen in a year. And then they showed up and they were throwing 91, 92. Maybe a 31st rounder. Come in and have a nasty hook and throwing up to 97, 98. And the guys are like, who the hell is this? And just be like, he just got 6 months to get better. And he really actually took the time to get better rather than complain about his circumstances or whatever, So next year is going to be wild, man. When it comes to the minor leagues, you're going to see a bunch of pop-up players for sure, with multiple teams, not just ours.
Do you think that I guess you probably didn't last year, but maybe this will happen more so next year, you are working closer with players than you were prior to the Reds, like when it was just like all Driveline kind of a thing?
Yeah, I mean, it's such a mix, like as you move up the ladder, you become less connected to the players, just kind of how it is. And that's true at Driveline, obviously, with me. And then that's true about, the pro ball too. The more you become director or coordinator, obviously I try to stay connected to the players as broadly as I can, but I just had to shuffle off all my assigned players to another coach as I kind of expand my new role as director of pitching. So it is what it is. You try to catch up with the guys you can and so forth, And so I just talked to big shout out. He's probably watching this live because he's the man. Big shout out to summer 16 trainee Joey Skrasik, dude. I just talked to him for like 30 minutes last night and it was awesome. Just about career advice and all that. And then I saw another guy that we had for a long time, Jackson Bandow, just throwing, so it was awesome to catch up. So you always remember, guys in the beginning, and so, yeah, I guess that's the best way to put it. Yeah,
because I feel like at Driveline, it's like you get so far removed from like actually seeing the guys like perform outside of live ABs. Like trainers just come in and then they go, and you like hear about how they're like doing in fall ball or in season. And I did think one of the coolest things was seeing some like videos from you and Jags every now and then of like. Even just on Twitter, just seeing like the dudes go out and compete and seeing like success on the field. I feel like that's something that, even in R&D, we're like so far removed from actually seeing the payoff, and that had to be like pretty tight. I feel like getting back into that.
It was cool, dude. But what was tighter, dude? Who I just saw literally an hour ago, dude? Outside, very socially distanced and safe in a mask. Call him. Dude, Barry Aiden, dude.
No way.
I'm not joking. Literally not. I thought he was someone else first.
Oh shit.
I walked up and I'm like, "What's? Oh my god, it's Barry!" Like, what a wonderful surprise. And it was awesome. It was good to see him.
Probably asking about the status of my contract. He was texting me.
He was, dude. He's like, "Dude, Brady's gonna bat fourth." Like whatever. God damn it. So no, we were talking about the stud season and stuff like that. But it's really good to see him. But yeah, it is awesome to watch guys compete. Instructs was really cool.
Yeah.
And to see the fruits of their labor, it's also very nerve wracking, as like you're out there and you're just like, oh man, like we played the Dodgers, we played Rob Hill's team, and Rob Hill came over, and I'm like, God, we can't blow it in front of Rob Hill, dude. I'll just wear it in slack for a year, and then we shoved it. It was good. It was great. It was a really close game, and that was the best. That was probably the best result for both of us. It was a really close, well pitched game on both sides.
Yeah.
Is there anything you've kind of felt pushback on in your first year that you expect to be a little bit smoother going in? And obviously, I'm sure you can't get like too specific, but there's probably so many things that, you at least had your hand in a little bit, or were up for some sort of discussion, review, stuff like that I'm assuming you must have been facing some initial pushback as a kind of a new guy in town from a completely different background.
Yeah, I would say that the pushback initially was, and it was justified pushback, I would say, is in the fall, we had first year player camp, and we met with all the first year draftees and non-drafted signees. And I kind of put together the idea of what if we, for starting pitchers in the minor leagues, that we just bang their bullpens pretty much for the most part. Like, we're not going to throw too many bullpens, and we're going to throw more live at bats, like throw to hitters, and they were all like, yeah, that's sick. Let's do that. So it's like, oh, okay. The buy-in is pretty high. Yeah. And then when I brought it to a larger group, the logistics of that became pretty clear. It's like, well, how hard do they go in the live at bats if they're throwing on a 5-day schedule? What if guys, send it and then they pitch and they pitch like crap, So it's just like, right. There's like other logistical stuff than just like filling up the schedule with live at bats, So there was some pushback, and we're trying to figure out what we're going to do next year, because I still believe in the idea. It's just how do we roll it out properly, But I chose the team that I went with the Reds because I knew that there wasn't going to be a lot of, I had to earn everything that I put on the field. But if the team was ready to have that big of a change in what we were doing, then I knew that like they were bought in pretty much 80% of the way before I got there. So it was just really not a lot of pushback on a lot of things. There's a lot of questioning. There's more questioning now than I thought that there would have been, which I take as a good thing. Pro scouts and other guys that have been in the game for decades.
Right.
One kid ripped 20 straight breaking balls in instructs and just laughing because it's a nasty hammer. He's just ripping breaking balls, and me and CJ, our hitting coach, were just like, all right, it's got to be a fastball. I mean, it just has to be. It can't not be another. Oh my God, it's another slider. Yeah. He's just like he got 3-1 on the first guy, he got 0-1, and then threw 3 straight balls like salad. And I'm like, definitely a fastball. And then just threw a hammer for a strike. And I'm like, this dude might not throw a fastball for the next 4 years. Just like, and then he didn't. And then everyone's like, hey, like Kyle, he threw 20 sliders. Like, what's up with that? Just like, which is like totally fair. And I can't just be like, well, his stuff plus on his slider is 161 and his stuff plus on his fastball when it's 89 is -50, just like, I can't just say that. It's got to be like a better explanation, and that's the cool part. That's the part I really enjoy, is taking the stuff that, R&D makes and then like kind of connecting it, and that's, I think Alex can tell you that too. When we were together in the winter meetings, and with the teams, I thought it was some of the most fun we had the entire time. I mean, many stories that we can't repeat, but like the professional stuff in the like, I honestly think it was a blast. So I'll turn it on you, Alex. What do you think? Like, did you agree with that statement? Like, did you enjoy that part of it, working with in the winter meetings pitches?
Yeah, I did enjoy it. Well, I wasn't sure if you're going to make any floss references or not, to be honest. But,
I was going to let you, dude, because I mean, you're the king, dude. You beat me, so what am I going to do? I was just defeated by you. I'm not going to sit here and act like I wasn't, I'll tell that story. I agree. There's definitely some stories from those winter meetings that we can't tell. That one's good.
Unless we put it up behind Patreon, and comment below if you want, dude. Yeah, comment below if you're interested in the Patreon OnlyFans account now. But no, one of the really fun things doing winter meetings with you and Mike Rothwell, CEO, and Jason Oshar and Sam Breen was kind of, we had a wide array of services and products to offer, which I think is still true today. Definitely still true today, but there's a pro and con to that. The pro is we kind of have something for everyone, and there's very few teams that aren't in a position to be interested in at least like some aspect of something that we sell or something that we create. And then the con being, some people can be faced with like decision paralysis. There's like, what do I get? Which one? As you remember from our first winter meeting, some people were eager to flip through the whole book and just kind of get
checks out, dude.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell 2 quick winter meeting stories. The first one, met with the team, and someone just kind of briefly. This is the first team, and it was my first experience really meeting with teams on that level. And I think Boddy and Mike were both a little bit nervous about how it'd be in those situations. And we met with the team, and then someone kind of instantly like was flipping through like a 50-page maybe booklet of like dense information, just kind of mindlessly flipping through, and he got to the bottom of it in like 8 seconds, and I just lean over, I go, checks out, and they're just like, what? Like, well, you look through the whole thing, well, what'd you think? They're like, and just started laughing. It's fine. And then our last meeting, Boddy and I went in making a kind of making a competitive bet about who would be the first person to drop the word floss in there. And
Caravan was looking all morning for a piece of floss because he crushed a chicken tikka masala the night before or whatever. I was trying to find some floss. So I'm like, dude, first person to say floss owes the other dude $10.
Yeah. which I got. Yeah, I was just on the edge of it. Cut off my own boss. He was about to make a good point. I was like, yeah, and we can floss out all those questions when we really get down to the nitty gritty of it. But no, I thought it was really fun, and I thought like that kind of bleeds over into the second part of what I was thinking of. What are the biggest differences interacting between Reg R&D and how Driveline R&D interacts with the training floor at Driveline? Because I mean, I know one half of it, and I suspect a few answers to the second half. But I'd be really interested from your point of view on that.
First of all, you're not even going to tell the back half of the floss story, dude. So basically, he says that, and he just owns me, and it's legit. It's legit. He gets me, you know. And then I'm just like, I'm not going out that way, dude. You know, I'm just not going out. Like, I'm not a loser. You know, I'll pay him the $10. I'm not going out. And I just turn to the guy, follow up on Caravan's fucking point. You know, it's just like, yeah, you know, back up my coworker's point. You know, like if you floss, like, yeah, you remember now. I'm like, if you floss your gums, dude, like you don't do it for a while, you have bloody gums, right? Like you bleed. And like, does that mean you stop flossing? No, like you're going to have this problem later. Like, so you just keep at it, you know, floss. That's the player development, right? You try something new, right? It's like, it doesn't always work. You give up. No, you believe in the process. And then the dude turns to me and he was just like, yeah, that resonates with me, man. Like I actually flossed this morning and I had bloody gums. Dude, Caravan just leaves the room. He's left. He's laughing. He's just like, gives me a fist bump in the middle of a meeting with a pro team and just leaves. He just leaves. It was wild. I don't know where he went. He just left. And I was just like, it was sick. And then I Venmo'd Caravan $10 and he Venmo'd it back. He just refused to take it. It was wild. He was just like, nah, dude, I'm not taking that. And then real quick, I got a winter meeting story for the group, for Caravan. Because winter meeting starts today, you know, RIP. Yeah. They didn't have it this year. Yeah. So basically, I'm sitting there. I'm standing in the lobby after the first day. It's a grinder, you know, and I'm just sitting there. And Jeff Passan walks up. You know, if you don't know who Jeff Passan is, you know, he's a reporter, right? Because he's of no concern. He comes up and he's just like, Kyle. I was like, what's up, Jeff? He's like, nice suit. Like, it is. Thanks. And because he always sees me in just bum clothes, you know, and I was just wearing a 3-piece Johnson, dude. It was sick. Yeah. Indochino.com, promo code Boddy15 for 15% off your offer. That's your sponsor for the stream, by the way. Let's go. And by the way, I set this whole thing up for that. So basically, he comes up to me and he's just like, is that your quantitative analyst? Because he points over to the table. It's a Caravan and O-chart. And I was like, yeah. He's like, he just doubled down on 13 versus 6. I was like, I didn't say he was a good one, man. I just said he was our guy. What do you think we can afford at Driveline, man? Like, are you kidding? He stays in the Luxor because we can't even afford to put him in the suite, you know? So just like, anyway, that's my winter meeting story. And now I've forgotten your question. Oh, it's Reds R&D. Well, they're way less ridiculous than the group that is here, which I take full responsibility for as being the founding director and hire of at least 3 of the 3 people on this call. And no, it's different. Like, obviously it's just different data, right? Like we have the Driveline just specialized in biomechanics, right? And then the stuff we have with the Reds is different. You know, so we have semi-markerless data. And so it's just different type quality of data and availability of it. And then, you know, then our sabermetric outcome data is better, right? So it's just kind of all over the place on what you can do. And so the first year, you know, you're just trying to figure out what are the biggest wins you can get with the team. And it's just not going to be with biomechanics. It's just not, right? It's going to be in outcomes, right? It's going to be how can we increase pitch grades, not only just with the players, how do we educate them and tell them like, hey, this stuff matters and what you would look for, and then coach the coaches. And that was so much of my first year is coaching the coaches, just like what we're trying to do and what we're trying to tackle. And then just so we're trying to roll out our weighted ball program, our throwing program, because the year previous we had 8 minutes to throw. You know, that was how much they threw before every day. They threw 8 minutes in spring training. And then now we're going to 40 minutes. So you go from 8 minutes, right, to many minutes. And then you're just like, hey, we're throwing, you can long toss. And the kids are like, that's so sick, dude. Go. And I'm just like, this is great, dude. They love me. And then they just long toss for 8 minutes, bro. They don't even take the time, dude. They just go straight out to 240 feet, and that's their first bullet. It's like, no, man, what are you doing? You know, so I'm just gonna buy big clocks. It's just like, what are you doing? Like they're just like, oh, I threw forever today. It's just 21 minutes. It's like, what are we doing? You know, so that's the other thing. People at Driveline, the trainees, and we've talked about this, but this is something we have to do a better job. It's just like, look, you're so used to just throwing for. There's an hour and a half slot and you literally throw for an hour and a half. You know, like that's normal. It's like, dude, you can't even do that with the Reds. You know, the Reds minor league system, Bauer came down and Bauer's like, you guys throw longer than us. this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing? The minor leagues get to throw longer than us. I'm going to complain, and so it's just like, it's a real luxury to be able to throw for 45 minutes. And then you imagine, like, you look at the schedule, what the field coordinators to put out. It's like, dude, like finding a hole for 45 minutes is like a hell of a thing. So it's kudos to my field coordinator, who basically is the head coach of the minor leagues, and he used to work for the Indians. So he's like, I generally know like what it looks like to have a 40-minute throwing block, so that was nice.
Yeah.
So that was kind of really interesting, is like you go in with a fire hose and you come in from Driveline and you're like, I got these awesome ideas. And you go in and you're like, oh no, they like all of them. That's not good. Like, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
I was kind of hoping they were going to hate like 70% of them, so it's just like, yeah, I would love to look at TrackMan data and throw 1,000 feet and pull out weighted balls and never throw a bullpen. It's like, oh, dude, you're supposed to like one of those things, So it's like, you just try to figure out what's the highest impact for these kids.
Yeah, but it seems like
that's. Go ahead.
It seems like in pro ball, like compared to like R&D and what we do at Driveline, the objective, or I guess like when you guys are trying to win, is way more immediate in pro ball. Like at Driveline, we can, we don't necessarily need an athlete to be better like tomorrow, and we're like shooting for like longer term objectives, like longer term wins, compared to like in pro ball. I mean, it's got to be like day to day. Like R&D's got to be using resources to win immediately, it feels like.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing with the off season in pro ball. It's so important, is like, can't take years off, unless you have surgery or you're young and you're on the development list, and we can put you in extended or whatever, but that's not a case for a 21-year-old or 22-year-old. It's not typically realistic that those guys can take time off. They got to go compete, and so it's trying to figure out that. And then in the off season, you set them up as best you can. You have your coaches check in every week, and so we're pretty comprehensive there. We have our pitching coaches calling them all the time. They're very clear. We post the KPIs every 2 weeks, and we say it's just like, hey, this is what's got to happen. Like these are the types of pitchers that pitch for the Cincinnati Reds in the big leagues. This is their pitch profiles. Like that should tell you a lot about what you got to do to get to the big leagues. So we're very honest with them. That hasn't changed from Driveline to the Reds, and it's been good. The players just want to be told the truth. You don't have to be a jerk to them, but they do want to be told what's up.
Right.
Here's a bit of a pointed question. So, obviously everyone here is a big Trevor Bauer fan, and Trevor Bauer just won a Cy Young, and that came on the brink of a shortened season that had many players on both sides of the ball, but especially pitchers, I think. That
was all me, by the way. I listened to the Jagers podcast. He didn't do anything. It was all me.
Well, I didn't want to say it. I didn't want to say it in front of Jagers, but
Well, I didn't want to cut you off, just like you didn't want to cut Jagers off, but then you did it anyway. So I figured I was going to get him back for that one.
We knew.
Not to cut you off, but I'm going to cut you off.
Tyke Green episode still coming. Anyways, yeah, so I was saying.
That guy's going to play me, dude. He's going to play me in Moneyball too. You ever think about that?
Tyke?
Oh, wow.
It's either him or Han from Fast and Furious, dude. What do you think?
Tyke's got to act. Oh, you're saying just like the Asian background, or
you like that, Brady? Dude, you like that?
Dude, Han from Fast and the Furious.
He's low key older than me though. Yeah. That's a tough scene.
Boddy,
it's not going to work out very well.
Holy shit,
dude! I'm trying to play a young Billy Bean though.
Let's go, dude.
No, so I was saying, so Trevor obviously is pretty famous for having a fairly large workload during off season and constantly training, not just taking like large tracts of time off because that's like convention or tradition, and being like very experimental with his workload. And many pitchers didn't do that from what it seems, and didn't like probably reduce their workload or didn't ratchet up in a conjunction with the shortened season. Do you feel that's going to have a lasting impact on either the Reds or the league as a whole?
Yeah, I've thought about it a lot. It's been very frustrating to hear from some people. They're like, we just had a short ramp up. And I'm like, the Cy Young winner literally moved to the desert, bro. Well, what do you mean you had a short ramp up? Like, he literally moved to Phoenix and threw at-bats in the desert. And the AL MVP, don't sleep, took at-bats off of him in the desert. Yeah. You ever think about that, dude? And the AL Cy Young also was throwing all the time at a local college. Like, he used the time too. Shane Bieber, his boy. So I hope that it has an effect. I hope that pitchers look at that and be like, like you can't part-time it, dude. Like you got to like really focus on this stuff. This whole it's the accelerating skill of the big leagues comes for us all. That's father time, right? That's one of the many forms of time. It's just like, if you're just treading water, and just like trying to maintain, then you're getting blown by people like Bauer and people that are as hardworking as Bauer, but like younger, with better stuff. So it's just, it's very frustrating, but we've gotten through to our players like pretty hard. Like, hey, like if you show up, you took all of 2019 off and you show up the same in 2020 or all 2020 off. And if you show up in 2021 with the same stuff and the same command, like, what are we doing, dude? Like, that is a tough scene, and our AA coach basically said that. He aired everyone out about it. And I was like, dude, I agree. Like, when you put it that way, it is a tough scene. How do you do that? How do you responsibly take off 12 months and then show up? There are people that take full gap years at Driveline and add like 19 miles an hour on their fastball, dude. Yeah. It's just like, just care, so I hope that we got through to them. And I know that we did for a lot of them. But it's just how, it's just putting out the information and just saying, hey, this is not what I want. It is, but then it's also just like what's best for your career. When you can align the incentives and then all you can do is just tell them that is and hope they believe it and show them enough truth and that they place your trust in you, and then that you're trying to better their career and not yours, So I think that's the best way to go about it.
Yeah. Kind of a shameless plug here as far as Modus goes, but since it's predominantly a workload tracker, do you think providing those types of objective workload and just training like measurements is going to help accelerate that as like those get more readily available? And
dude, did Marsh pay for that spot, bro? Are you kidding? The CEO of Modus, that's your boss, man. You're just brown nosing your boss. Unbelievable, dude. He was sitting right to the right of me, and then he just part-timed it because that's what Marsh does. He just goes home at 4. Unbelievable. Gets in at like 10 and goes home at 4.
It is in his Slack status in his defense. It does say at the facility.
That's true.
He did play in that.
That's true. He's at church. That's what it looks like. Anyway, no, Modus. Yeah. We used Modus pilot program. We sent out a couple of units to the players at home. And it was really successful, and I was like, it's the same thing as before. You tell them the truth and what the value is of it. And then they showed up to Instructs, and then we compared training at home, the one-day workloads of training at home versus training on the field, and they were wildly different. I'm not going to get into collect your own data if you're out there watching this, from another pro team, but basically it was really different, and it informed how we changed our throwing program significantly. And then we'll roll it out wide next year. But then, it was like, these assumptions that you have just get shattered. You're just like, oh, the kids they'll throw with a Modus sleeve at home, but like they're not throwing with it in a game. No way. They hate it, because with other organizations I may or worked with and seen them, the players like, this is stupid, and the coaches hate it. And then you're like, oh, well, this is just not going to work. So then you go into it and you're just like, yeah, you're going to use it at home. And then you come here and then you're just like, you don't have to use it in a game. Like, we just need you to throw it in live at bats. Then we need you to throw it in your pregame and your post, whatever, just like all the things we do. And then if we get a map, then we can kind of use those one-day workloads and assume that they're the same, And while that's not as accurate, like at least it's decent. And then we can put it in either a manual tracker or we can upload TrackMan and Rapsodo CSVs through Modus-MLB. Don't sleep. Contact support at drivelinebaseball.com for your package today. And then kind of calculate workloads, and then I set it. And then I basically just set it assuming that they weren't going to wear it in a game. I didn't even make it an option, And then like 3 kids were just like, could I wear it in a game? And I was like, sure, like we'll get better. He's like, will it like, is it better if I wear it in a game or we get all the same data from TrackMan? It's like, no, like you'll get way more accurate data if you wear it in a game, not only for that day, but for the days in the future. And he's like, oh, I'll just like wear it in every game. I don't care. And I was like, really? Like, it doesn't bother you? He's like, no. He's like, you explained it. And kind of unbeknownst to me, the 6 people we did a pilot program with, 5 of them had Tommy John in the past. And so they were just like, a kid pointed that out in the group. And he was just like, yeah, I don't know if you do that on purpose. I was like, nope, definitely stupid. Definitely didn't know that. And kid's like, yeah, well, we've all had it and we don't want to have it again, right? So anything that potentially can contribute to understanding more about our body, not saying that it's going to prevent it, but like they're all about. So it's like those things where you're just like, man, like the appetite for this stuff is out there. You just got to sell it the right way. You got to produce it the right way. It's got to come from a place that it's going to benefit the player, and you just front load the education, and they got to trust you. They got to trust that you know a lot and know more than them. and B, look out for their best interests. And when you do that, they'll do just about anything, as long as you do it the right way.
Yeah.
I got a question for you. That's pretty nuanced. We'll see what you're down to offer up. But is there like one project or something that sticks in your mind as like your favorite thing you've contributed to in terms of R&D work at Driveline, with like a couple obvious ones that jump to my mind, being like the biomechanical lab and deriving a bunch of those equations, kind of on the or not on the spot, but like work at home type stuff. The Kyle Brody tool, just general like tech.
No one uses it, bro. How can they hate it?
Well, I mean, I figured I'd throw you a couple options for one that could be like less popular, but yeah, like out of all the kind of stuff we get started and a bunch of stuff that kind of maybe sometimes fizzles out or mutates in a different project. What are like your fondest memories of Driveline R&D work? Since, I mean, at this point, technically, it's been a couple of years since you've been director of R&D.
Yeah.
I don't know when officially you gave that mantle to Joe Marsh. Maybe May 2018. Sounds about right. But
it all blends together, man. It all checks out.
Time is a flat circle.
It's tough to say. Time is a flat circle, dude. It's got to be the lab, man. Because I remember like the first one I built, with that dude. If you're watching, give me a call, dude. Matthew Wagshaw, where are you, dude?
Give anyone a call, please.
He's in the chat.
He's in the chat, dude. Dude, like Marsh's theories about Wagshaw are unbelievable. He's just like, he's a fisherman, dude. He married a Cuban woman. He's a fisherman. He fishes for. I'm like, come on, man. And he's just like, he just tells me this. Marsh just makes up this ridiculous story. Like it sounds plausible. And I was just like, come on, Wagshaw is not a fisherman in Miami. He's like, yeah, but he could be. I was like, you're probably right, dude. Like, there's just, you can't exclude anything, So that's him and Sheffy.
Yeah. I've only ever seen him once in person. Only one time have I ever seen him, and it was at the Starbucks where we had like that R&D meeting. That was the only time I've ever seen him. Like, outside of that, I don't even know if he's real.
He's a beast. Yeah, I mean, yeah, me neither. That's the best part.
Yeah.
So we worked on this lab using markerless collections when the first Casio cameras came out, and then we did this markerless thing and got some data out of it. Seemed fine. And I just have a lot of fond memories of building a hilariously too large biomechanical capture cube. I mean, bro, this thing was like 20 feet long, dude. Like, what are we doing? I just bought a bunch of PVC from Home Depot. And I'm like, oh no. Just like, I had to buy it. But then I cut like one of the PVC pipes and I was just like, how am I going to cut this evenly? I mean, it's like, you got to get it within like a couple of millimeters, man. Yeah. Just like, geez. So this thing was just huge. It's like 12 feet tall, 12 feet wide, 25 feet long. It's like, this is embarrassing. Jesus. And we built that, and it's had a lot of fun, it's just like, cause man, that was awesome. And then, and then Wagshaw disappeared off the face of the earth to be a sustainable farmer in Ghana. And then, then building the lab ourselves. Fond memories of Marsh and me and OC just putting OptiTrack cameras behind a net for like 5 hours and just being like, why doesn't it read? Don't get it. Like, his thing sucks, just, and then calibrating, we would calibrate it for literally 30 minutes. We would like wave the wand for 30 minutes. It's like, this is great. And then I Googled what the term overfitting means.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know that.
Because you're just oversampling like crazy.
Yeah. As a man who has formerly written machine learning algorithms, I just didn't know what local minimum was.
Yeah.
It's just like absolutely brutal. But no, how can you not be romantic about those, And then, those are definitely the biggest ones for sure. A lot of my programming past too, like the machine learning stuff I did in the past, and definitely comes up, but it's really the lab. I mean, it's changed, flex on it a little bit. It's changed baseball in a lot of ways, just how we think about it, not only here, but externally, it's just changed the course of how we talk about pitching, and it will for a long time. So I feel really good about that. That's cool.
Yeah. I remember I talked about this when, or actually, I don't know if I mentioned this, but for some reason this sticks out to me so much when Lindley and I were at Slugfest last year, and we went after Ben's talk and talked to him, and I was just like, it was the first time I met Ben Hansen. I was like, oh, great to meet you. And he said something along the lines of like us popularizing like biomechanics or baseball biomechanics to some extent, and I hadn't really thought of it to that extent of like the impact of us just like putting GIFs and pictures and honestly just like applied biomechanics in baseball at the scale that we do it at. Like I didn't appreciate it nearly enough until he'd said that. I thought that was pretty dope.
That's pretty sweet. That is a cool thing. So if we can be remembered for that, that's pretty darn awesome.
Yeah.
You don't have to be coy about it, Boddy. I know your favorite piece of R&D that you built was that parse or that script to put together EMG data from a bunch of different CSVs.
Oh, yeah.
CSVs from cricket.
I mean, maybe. I mean, like that connected with Sheffy's comments are definitely my favorite. If you can include that, Sheffy convinced Joel McKeithen that EMG sensors for the quad are different than EMG sensors for the calf.
Oh,
you wanted to put one on a bat.
Oh,
yeah, well, that one too. Come on, let's not get into that. But like Sheffy literally convinced, and because Joel's just like, yeah, like what about you could like map out. I mean, don't get me wrong, Joel's idea was ridiculous. He was just like, can you map out like muscle activity in the swing from the shoulder like all the way? It's just like, I don't know what you think EMG sensors do, man, but like, or how much time we have in our hands. It's just like no. So instead of Sheffy being like no, he was just like, I'm going to concoct this ridiculous assertion that EMG sensors for the quad don't work on the tricep. Yeah. And so he said that. And like Joel's pretty smart, actually, so Joel's just like, no, that can't be true. And then Sheffy just bowls over him. Sheffy's like, come on, man, it's ridiculous. Like, why would the muscle groups? I mean, they're totally different between the quadratus lumborum,
the pennation angles, you got the fiber types.
And the vastus lateralis, dude. Come on, man, it's not the same as the triceps. Are you serious?
Yeah.
And it's just like totally different muscle composition, man. The signal is just like totally different frequency. It's like a radio, And Joel's like, yeah, that makes sense. Sheffy's like, that's right. And he left, and then I don't think Joel to this day knows that we were screwing with him. So that definitely stands out as a great memory for sure.
Shout out Kettlebell EMG study, first Driveline peer-reviewed study published. You're welcome.
Hey, don't sleep. Don't sleep. When Boddy was the director of R&D, published studies, 3 ever since March. You bro's taken over. True. Over 1,000. What are we doing? What are we doing, dude?
We're over. We're over with Joe in charge. We are big over.
Unreal.
Yeah. Tough.
Yeah.
All right. Got a question. 25 years from now, we're like looking back. What makes you just kind of like sit back in your chair and be like, holy shit, we fucking did it? Or is there a we did it for Driveline Baseball 25 years from now?
Yeah. I don't know. Let me think about that while I give my salad answer. But every time I think it's just not, And so I don't know if there ever is going to be it, I think my first World Series ring, if I'm lucky enough to get one, will be like pretty cool. I mean, I'm not going to think, I'm like, that'll be awesome, but that's not it. I didn't get into the game to win awards or anything like that, or to make a ton of money. I got into it to change it. And I think that's a process, right? So if overall, I think the thing in 25 years is just like, oh my God, I got to do it for 25 years. Yeah. No one stopped me. Yeah. That's ridiculous. Bunch of idiots. Honestly, I think that would be the coolest thing. It's like you get to make a living working in baseball as a nerd, man. I mean, that's pretty dang good. I mean, there's some long shot projects that I think are really important that I don't want to talk about because I know R&D is working hard on them, or not in this case. But there's just there's things that I think that we are uniquely ready to solve. And while it is not in my nature to be closed source, nor is it anyone on the call, there's just a couple that I think are like super interesting that I know that we're eventually going to go down. But I mean, we've already written about it. Like computed muscle control might change the game forever. Being able to have forward dynamics analysis rather than inverse kinematics. And being able to estimate muscle contribution to valgus load using nothing but optical and hopefully markerless optical or small markers, like a 3-marker set or an IMU. Like an IMU plus a markerless system is obviously what we all hoped is going to happen, right? And if you can use that to compute muscle control, to compute muscle dynamics in the delivery and in the baseball swing and running and anything else, I think that if that one I think I'll look back because I remember reading the research papers originally by Buffy and others and just being like, you do that, you change the game forever. Like maybe. Like I think I would have a hard time believing if you got that system running and you had valid forward dynamics and in addition to inverse kinematics, that you would have another 30-year reign of information that you would never have, right? Because imagine when ASMI first really popularized the use of inverse kinematics to develop kinetic joint load theory, right? What, 80s probably, right? Because Dr. Jesus de Pena is in the 70s, right? And Feltner and those guys are around then too. So then track and field that at first, obviously. And then baseball started applying it with Qualisys systems probably, and Vicon, I think, were probably the first systems. And like publishing that information. And so having like net valgus, or like not net, but like gross valgus torque was like, oh my God, you can calculate elbow load. And then it turns out that that's only so useful, and that might be true about net valgus load, but I have a feeling it's not. I have a feeling that net valgus torque, if you calibrate it with an EMG sensor, and it's relatively reliable, I think you could change the game forever. And I think you could seriously impact the injury rates in baseball. I think you could like seriously cut it down by double-digit %, which would be really interesting. And that, if we do that, is like, damn, that's sick.
We did it.
And a think tank is very well positioned to do it, like us. It's hard for a team to do it because the incentives are not perfectly aligned, and it's not a research institution. In ours, we have a much better chance of making it happen. And I mean, we've been working on it on and off for the last 7 years, so it's nothing new. And when we get our bearings about us and revenues are restored from COVID, hopefully that we'll be able to do it. And I think in 20 years, if we can do that, that's something I'll actually sit back and be like, all right, no false modesty. That's sick that we did that. So that's what I got.
Yeah. I think for me, it was like, honestly, I don't know if it was 2017 or it might have been as early as 2016, but the first time like you described, or I'd heard you describe like track before it even existed, is honestly kind of the one for me. And I think like track and beyond just track alone, but like the wealth of longitudinal data that we're going to have like 10 years from now over like, you look at, Devin's kids, just like watching them like develop and play and having all of that data about them as they go. I think one is going to allow us to ask questions that like, we don't even know that we can ask right now. But then the other one that still gets me is like the idea of you, when you were first talking about it, about track becoming this like autonomous, always on, like, baseball player development engine that's just like constantly consuming information from players and then like putting out better answers for like, oh, just do this today, like just like constantly collecting data from like Modus or whatever it is that day and being like, okay, today your red plyo, blue plyo numbers were here. Tomorrow you should do this. You're going to be better off, that kind of a thing. Like that kind of like, end goal that someone can just download an app and do a certain workout with the right technology. And then this thing will like optimize and tell them like, okay, tomorrow you should do this. That's kind of like the one that one still gets me as like, holy shit, fucking.
Yeah, no doubt. It's really cool because like, I agree, that's true. That's definitely going to be a thing. We're going to do it. And the people that like, it's funny because you've reached success on some level when the people that you bring on that are like 20, whatever, or something, or you show people track, they log in and they're like, it's just annoying and data or whatever. It's just like, bro, dude, if Dwayne St. Arnold could hear you now, or Kyle Rogers or whatever, dude, like, no way, man. Like Kyle Rogers is out there like fucking killing himself just thinking about that. Yeah. It's like, dude, it took 60 seconds to put in a squat. Like back in the day, just like it was awful. And then eventually it'll be all autonomous, data intake, and then there'll be volumetric capture at every minor league field, and there'll be volumetric capture on every major league and backfield in the Dominican and on every perfect game showcase. It's inevitable. The camera's prices just come down year after year because the parallel industries are incentivized to drive the price of optical cameras down. Right, like you think, like it's the thinking that people don't quite grasp. It's just like like cameras, like like the Edgertronic and stuff like that. It's like, dude, in 10 years the Edgertronic's going to cost like $500, or just like the feature set of the sensor and it will cost nothing. It's like the point is like, and like you think that baseball, or sports industry or whatever is going to drive it. It's like, who really wants optical cameras to solve problems is Elon Musk. Like, because if Tesla can actually prove that it doesn't need LiDAR to drive, then camera, that's pretty good, right? So like, there's just we're benefiting from all these billions of dollars, trillions of dollars really being poured into optical capture and research and stuff like putting a better camera in your phone so Instagram and TikTok can look better. Yeah. It's just like we benefit from that indirectly in a big way.
iPhone 12 Max Pro, baby.
Dude, $200. What do you say? Well, like, come on. I'm on the iPhone SE, dude. I need your salary, man. I'm broke. Tough scene. So it's just like that's going to be the future for sure. But I was fortunate enough. It's not like I derived it. I'll take some credit for like kickstarting it and funding it. And Old Lord Business deserves it too, because he's the one that's really high on it, on track. I think he was the first person to like say we really need to put a ton of financial means behind it. But I've seen it in gambling. Like today, if you know anything about online poker, like when I started playing forever ago, I always think about like what level I would be a successful online poker player at. And I'm not entirely confident that I can beat like the 2 cent, 4 cent, no limit stakes right now. Like that's how good like the players are, how bad I am, and how many bots there are. Right. Wow. So it's just like how difficult it is. There's huge scandals all the time in online poker right now, because when I was playing, it was the Wild West. Everyone sucked, and people just leaving a ton of profit on the table. And it was great. It was a beautiful time to be a professional gambler for 2 years, Yeah. And but today, I mean, like, dude, there's these high stakes games going, and if you don't have history in the games, like if your screen name hasn't been around a long time, or people don't know who you are personally tied to that screen name, and you play well, like there's all these patterns where it's just like, oh, this guy was playing like 100 no limit, like $1, $2 no limit poker for years. And then all of a sudden, like he takes like 6 months off, and then he comes back to the game, or the screen name comes back and just beating the toughest games in the world, like beating 100, 200 no limit, like huge pots. Yeah. We're talking like pots of 30,000 are like not uncommon. Right. And they're getting the best of it. So it's just like, oh, so what's happening? Like this guy's cheating, like he's hacked it, which has happened in the past, right? Yeah. Or, which I doubt is probably happening now, but then there's just like, what's that? Oh, it's a high stakes poker player playing on this guy's name, which does happen, less than you'd think, but it does happen. Or like there's solver software out there that can solve for every situation out there. Like, oh, this person has this, and I've data mined every hand he's played for the last 9 years, so I know his tendencies, his 3-bet tendencies, like what he raises, what he check folds to, what he check raises with, and his ranges, approximate ranges, and so forth. And if you take all that information over 9 years from Poker Tracker or whatever, and then plug it in some sort of machine learning algorithm or whatever approach you tend to use, just be like, all right, like here are all the iterated board states possible, in the next move, and on the turn of the river, here are the dead cards, here are the live cards. You feed all this information into a program and just say like, all right, what's the optimal move that is game theory optimal? So you get a game theory optimal solution, which is fine, but
game
then that's
theory.
So, bro, I'm just getting started. Come on now. So you have a game theory, you have a GTO approach. But in GTO approach is inherently exploitable, obviously, right? If people understand it, it just guarantees you lose the least, right? But like it beats a lot of people. But like at the end of the day, like if you could just feed all that tendency information in there and wreck people, like there are solvers for games that aren't public. Mm-hmm. There are that people have probably spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to develop, and so like that's that. Like people are willing to do that for that. So why would it be any different than Major League Baseball? Why would you not have quote unquote solvers that ingest all this information and spit out better tendencies? Because like right now, the best we do with a lot of it is just like, here's look at some longitudinal data, pitch whatever, and then just be like, I think you should throw a slider, and it's just like pretty unscientific. You just really have and it's always going to be a human on human game. It's the best part of baseball, but you could have way more probability estimates and way more reliabilities. And I just don't think like we're there yet. I don't think a lot of people think in those terms, that's why Driveline's cool, man. Like we're incentivized to look into the long shots. We can look into 10 years down the future, and actually build towards that. Whereas teams just inherently aren't incentivized to do that. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
We got a couple questions in the chat. I don't know if you guys looked at the chat at all. Because first off, we also misspelled Brady. You put Coors Light with a apostrophe, which is badass.
Shit. It's Coors. It's his light.
It's a man named Mr. Cord, dude.
It's Coors Light.
Yo, it's okay. I think that's the same mistake Boddy made on the ACT when we both took it together. I think that's why I made a score.
Come on.
That's why I made a higher score on English.
who gets dominated by a man whose English isn't even his first language? Just gets dominated. But let's not sleep, okay? Let's tell the whole story. We get done with the ACT, and if we go before the ACT, Caravan's like, I'm going to drink a prime number of beers before the night before. And I'm like, all right. So then we get to a high school full of 16-year-olds who are terrified to take it. And I see Caravan wearing a track jacket and just a Slavic suit. And I'm like, did you drink 3 beers or 5? And he's like, 7, dude. I was like, oh no. Like, that's a lot of beers. So then we take the test. And like afterwards, I tell him, like, dude, I forgot how to calculate the formula for a freaking cone. Oh, yeah. Like a solid color or whatever. I thought it was, Caravan's like, we went over that. He was like just berating me. He's like, it's 1/3 of whatever. And I'm like, I don't even know it now. And I'm like, whatever, man. Like, how did you do on the science? Because I told him, I said, if he beats me in science, he could just be the director. I'll resign immediately. And he's like, yeah, I don't think I got one wrong. He's like, I don't know of a single science question I got wrong. And I'm like, oh my God, dude. Because I'm like, there were like 2. I finished it. I was pretty confident, but I'm just like, man, there were like 2 questions that could have gone either way. And then we get our test back, and Alex got no fewer than 5 science questions wrong. It's like, what are you talking about, dude?
I still don't know. I still don't know what I missed, though. I didn't lie.
And I got 1. I got a 35. It's like, what are you doing, Caravan? And I told him I was going to bomb the math, and then I did. And the Caravan got it perfect on the math and rubbed it in my face. I'm like, no kidding. I made a good hiring decision. Yeah. I get it. Just like, but then he clowned me in the English, and that's tough. That's a tough one, dude. He doesn't even speak English. It's a tough one.
I think it's because the science was like later. I don't know. I don't know what happened. I did sober up. I did sober up during when the proctor was going around. I'm just like, oh man, I'm cashed. But
like admitting that you're drunk with a bunch of 16-year-olds taking the ACT.
Still did better than all of them,
against us in a court of law. Yeah. No, he waxed him.
No, nobody watches this. Maybe except this episode. I was going to say we have a couple questions that we're addressing now. So I don't know how we kind of touched on some of them. Well, first off, one person want to know what actually wine we're drinking, Brady. I don't know if he threw that on.
Oh, it's a red blend. I don't know where from though.
Okay, yeah. Clearly we don't know shit about wine.
Yeah. It's a red wine. It's not a white one.
I don't know, bro. Look, I got some clear stuff in my glass. So question from Sam Bornstein, kind of open-ended.
That dude.
What's something that college baseball programs could do better? So I know there could be a long list here, Boddy. So I mean, if we want to address other couple questions, we'll have to keep this on a highlight on like a top couple reasons, because otherwise we could make another podcast on this, I'm sure.
What are you scared to go to ours, dude? All right. Anyway,
it's Joe Rogan, baby.
That's right. You ever done DMT, dude? Basically, moving to Texas on it, brain candy. All right, enough. Basically, I've switched to Coke Zero, by the way. So
nice.
College baseball programs. I think Sam, what he means is, what can analytics programs do better in college? Because there's a lot college can do better. Well, you guys kill it if that's what you want to hear. The University of Iowa analytics team, they have their own Twitter, dude. They kill it. It's a sweet. It's awesome. It's awesome to watch the evolution of college baseball from an analytical perspective, because it makes my job easier. When guys get drafted and get in a pro ball, they understand a lot of it. What could do better is probably write off more freshmen, like from competing right away, like recruiting players that you're going to spend an entire development year, rather than just be like, yeah, you got a chance, and then come in and they play a million games and they're like, yeah, you're cut, and they're going to redshirt you, so it's like, if you just kind of told them up front, just like, hey, like, this is what we got, like, are you going to buy in? What do you got on that? And just trying to do that. I think it'd go a long way with the right guy, with the right player. So I think that's definitely something that would go a long way in college. Catchers obviously calling their own game is a very hot topic. That doesn't happen in college very often. But like training those guys probably a little bit better to call games and tendencies, and look into that probably would go a long way. But the college game is pretty sweet. I don't think there's inherently anything broken about it, about the on-field product anyway. It's just some of the development stuff I think could be a little bit more outlined, I think, for some of the players.
Yeah.
Second question, by B Gold. You become a GM. Would you overhaul the coaching hierarchy in pro ball / make changes to create optimal player development in your eyes?
If I become a GM, I quit. Are you kidding? Oh, what happened? Oh, no. To be very clear, anyone watching this, I am not really that interested in being a GM anytime soon. Hit me back, maybe. But if I was a gentleman, the questions like this, and I'm not trying to crap on B Gold, but kind of imply that like the general manager is a dictator and can do whatever he wants. And it's just generally not true. Like ownership has a big say. It's a collaborative effort, and so the people just like yell at the general manager on Twitter. It's like, a lot of people went into this decision. But that being said, the hierarchy in pro ball overhauling, I mean, you're seeing it now with short seasons being removed. It's causing reallocation of headcount. Some teams are just, eliminating those positions and the people in them, and that's tough. But then additionally, what some teams are doing are increasing headcount in the complex and then turning it into like a place where you actually have coaches that are focused on development. So it was, I think that's a really interesting side of it. A big thing when we hired Forrest Herman to be our Billings coach, short season coach. It was important to me that he was a short season coach because then he would spend the first half of the year in extended spring training. And Forrest had run a development program at P3, Premier Pitching in St. Louis. Yeah. Or not run, but he'd been part of it. He was an employee and he was really good at his job. So it's like, look, this guy, because coaching on the field and coaching between the lines is not always the same as coaching in the confines of a complex or an academy or an academy in the Dominican or a facility like ours. They're similar skill sets, but not identical. Right. So having people that are good at that is pretty important. So that's what I would do is I would continue investment in development of understand that the hierarchy of professional baseball on the coaching side is not the same as the player side. Just because it's the lowest level doesn't mean our worst coach is there. And just because it's the highest level doesn't mean our best coach is there. In a lot of ways that the reverse is probably better, is that the lower the level, the more important the coach is. So, or the better the coach is, So I think that that's how I would imagine it, is probably kind of flip around pay scales and things like that. And there's no shame in being a development coach, and there's no shame in being a skill coach. One is not inherently better than the other. So I think that's how I would do it. But I think you're seeing it. I think you see teams do that.
Interesting.
And then another question. First pro coach that bought into our beliefs, which I don't know the answer to. I'm curious if you can identify like one singular person, or if not, like a few initial people who are more on the pioneer side when it came to the stuff that Driveline Baseball was putting out.
Yeah, I mean, I started my pro contracting career with the Houston Astros. So I would have to say them. Tampa Bay was in there early as well. Josh Kalk, dude, shout out to the Kalkster. With Tampa, that was awesome. But I would say we'd have to go Houston, I guess, right? Because they were the first ones to really, pay me and give me a chance, and then, send us players. And then I also did work on the scouting side. It'd have to be them.
And then a new one here, by the way. I hopped on for maybe the first time interacting with fans on the Driveline R&D podcast, YouTube. Getting pretty wild, getting pretty interactive. By the way, Tom Kim, that's me talking to you. I think he asked, what are you guys up to with pitch development? Can you guys talk about that? Fairly open-ended. I followed up on if he meant Reg or Driveline. He said basically whatever you got. So I think the man's thirsty just for any nugs he can drop towards, in general, future pitch development work.
What do you, dude? I hired you. You guys do that. I don't do that. I just take what you tell me, and then and I tell Coach Bill, get it done.
Yeah, I mean, I can speak a little bit on it. I'm curious if do you have anything specific that you wanna talk about from your experience in pro ball? I can kind of give a quick blurb that I've talked about on past episodes, but plenty of people might have not tuned in those.
Yeah, I got one. That's a great. Maybe you can break some news, or maybe you got to tell me that tell the people that you got to keep the lid on it. When are you automating post game reports, dude? When is that happening in track? With the
the Statcast tables are getting thrown up as we speak. That's a good question, actually. I don't know if we should be talking about that quite yet or not. Or I mean, here's I'll give my answer to pitch development. A lot of it comes on the work of from Dan O'Coin specifically. He's more ingrained in the sabermetric side of things than I am, but we both work together on a bunch of tools and reports. A lot of stuff that we spit out in specific reports, stuff like the pitch recommendation report, a bunch of stuff that Boddy just alluded to that we're going to be dropping in track. Track traditionally is more of you input data and we give you insights and analysis on that data you input. But right now we're rigging track up with a bunch of internal databases. So essentially the data will already be in track. Players will be able to download reports and analysis and insights from stuff like biomechanical data, MLB data, a bunch of things. So usually what we tend to do is we have a lot of research that goes into building our own proprietary measures of intrinsic pitch quality that we've validated sometimes through blogs, sometimes through internal stuff before we push it to the outside world. But a lot of it is, especially when someone comes in, we kind of run things like similarity scores, adjustment algorithms. We fine tune their pitches on both a stuff scale, command scale, location heat map, for something very relevant that I just put out in the last week that we're looking at and can kind of give you an idea of specific avenues we're going towards. I was looking at people's expected vertical approach angle based on their arm slot, and then seeing how that plays. Like, does someone who gets a lot of ride, do they target the upper zone where you traditionally think of fastballs with a lot of ride being, or do they kind of go more middle zone? In which case, maybe it should alter their specific fastball design if they're going to have that much expected VAA on it, things like that. So it's a pretty complex process. A lot of times, I've got another question. A lot of times things are very, very specific because one of the main things that we seek out to do when it comes to pitch development is give tailored recommendations, not just put in your pitch profile. You should throw a 98-mile fastball with this much vertical break and a 89-mile-an-hour slider with 8 inches of horizontal break. Those are great, but those aren't realistic for everyone's profile. So I think that's something that I'm really proud of internally, and that we really seek to fine tune. I don't know if you have anything to add on that, Boddy.
Oh, dude, I think you smoked it. Yeah, it's pretty good.
And
for breaking out
and floss.
That's definitely flossed it. I mean, you're gonna drop the expected vertical approach angle on the pomies, dude. That's a nugget.
And last couple of questions. I think we got a request for a Desi Druschel story that I kind of alluded to a little bit when we had Jagers on with banana peels, which I know makes them really happy. But you got anything, buddy?
I mean, he's the homie, dude. He's the first guy to give me a chance. He's the first college coach to fly me out to his school, Mount Mercy. I have his shorts on right now. I got the Mount Mercy shorts. You'll have to take my word for it. I'm not going to show you. But I got a pair of Mount Mercy shorts on right now, man. They're sick. And they're D1 branded. It's pretty sweet. Mount Mercy, definitely an NAI school. But he had me out there, and we're just ripping plyo balls in the outfield at there. It was wild. Flew out to Cedar Rapids. It just really is corn everywhere. I mean, the story I'll tell about Desi, I guess, is just hear all these wild accusations about Iowa. And so I just get out there, and he's like, I'm going to take you to dinner. He's like, do you want to go somewhere nicer, in Iowa, whatever? I'm like, definitely in Iowa, whatever, dude. Let's go. So it takes me to this house. It's a house. Just a house. And you go in, and it's a restaurant in a house. Okay. And there's just a menu. And the person's like, yeah, it's like $9 for dinner. And I'm like, for what? And they're just like, anything. What? And you just order as many things as you want, as often as you want. That's wild. What is that? It's a buffet, but not. And the food was pretty good. I mean, the corn was awesome, obviously. So then we just sat there and just crushed it. And then we watched Iowa State get destroyed. Like we did. That's a true story. Get screwed, Soteropolis. I mean, we watched it on TV. They just got absolutely hammered. Anyway, that's what I got. That's my Desi story. I have fond memories. And then he paid me $300. I refused to take it, and then he snuck it in my luggage. Brutal.
Oh wow.
We got a follow up from Tom Kim that I was going to mention. I don't know how much we want to go into it right now. He asked what's the biggest factor for stuff quality, which is a little bit proprietary. We've like alluded. We're not like too specific with what we talk about on the podcast. I'll just mention the stuff you mentioned. Brake and velocity gap are taken into account. But that's not all. But not to turn this into a specific Stuff Plus podcast. We'll probably in the near future we'll probably have a blog post or something that goes into nitty gritty, especially when we have those reports out with Stuff Plus and everything. So look forward to that. I was gonna say we also got a couple more rando cues for you, Boddy. We got some
real quick. I would love to provide my input on the pitch data. It's illegal to throw slow. Just don't throw slow. That's not okay. Like Joe Kelly's curveball is sick, even though the movement is bad because it's an 89. Just throw cheese.
Yeah.
It's not legal to throw slow.
There you have it. After clear up what we have in our formulas. I was gonna say, what's your recent favorite thing you've cooked, Mr. I have a personal Instagram for cooking.
Dude, my personal Instagram.
And which we can plug it if you want.
No food on it. There's no food on it. It's brutal. I mean, I haven't been cooking that much, but my recent. Let me pull it up. I'll pull it up and then see. I got a picture of Jager's. This is my first thing on there. But I cooked a really good going away steak meal at Driveline. Yeah, that was awesome. Caprese salad and all that. Yeah, I enjoy one of my favorite pastimes at Driveline. I'm gonna have to start doing this again. I just thought of it as I'm looking at my feed. I cook completely ordinary meals. I mean, they're on the nicer side. You know, I'll like use nice ingredients or whatever. You know, it takes like a couple hours to prep. But they're like pretty normal. Like you would like serve it to an American. They'd be like, of course, you know, like buttermilk fried chicken and like whatever, mashed potatoes and peas or whatever. You know, like snap peas or whatever. Yeah. And like just like cook all that up and then serve it. And then Chris Langan will just be like, I've never had chicken. It's just like, what are you talking about, dude? Like, yeah, it's just like the items that Langan has never eaten is wild. Yeah. So I just try to find out, you know, like what is he not eating that's very normal. You know,
also didn't know what In-N-Out was. He thought it was the one with the peanuts. And also didn't know what the diamonds in the far left lane of the highway was.
That's what it was. Yeah, he's the carpool lane guy.
We call him Carpool Chris.
Yeah. He didn't know carpool
Dude,
lane.
That's unreal. Coming from BRK, dude. Are you kidding? In a bag on a dude.
God damn.
That's another podcast.
Yeah. Get Langan on here.
Weedmaps.com, dude. That's who you need to get this sponsored by. You're probably a big fan.
Oh my
God.
dude. Now we're
talking. Yeah, I saw an advertisement for it the other day.
What's your favorite? Here's a good way to end stuff because I think we want to wrap it at a tight 80. We're working our way up towards next time we'll have you on. We'll do a full 3-hour Joe Rogan, some whiskey, some
there you go.
But
yeah, it's workload management, man. The 1 day workload, it can't be too high, dude. Devin Rose.
Gotta watch our ACRs.
I was gonna say to finish it off. I know we already dropped a couple, but what's your favorite story involving one of the co-hosts on this podcast that you want to drop on air? That's appropriate.
Wow.
Oh,
I just came up. Oh,
that's unbelievable, man.
You got me thinking of the BRK reference.
I just hope it's not about me because it'll probably be incredible.
That's an incredible. I mean, they're all going to be damning.
It's an incredible.
That's an incredible question. I would request that you have a filler story while I think, please. Someone has to have a filler story about one of the other people on this podcast. What is one of your favorite?
About you.
You could do it about Boddy, yeah.
That's fine. That's or just anyone on the podcast. Just some of the Phil. I think whatever.
Yeah. I think one of my favorite Boddy stories is probably. Oh, does anyone have time to fill for me?
Oh, I have one. Honestly, there was one when I was training, or I don't know if it was in 2016 or 2017, but there was it was definitely at the old facility. It was in 2-4, and I think something had happened. You were like really, really sick one week. Like you were super just like sick and tired. And you came in one day, and at one point you just laid face down in the PT table and kind of like fell asleep, and you were just like there. And I just remember like OC walking by and OC coming up to me and being like, I swear we had a tour with someone important that day. Like some front office people came in, or like maybe a pro ball guy, but they definitely like walked in. And I remember OC just being like, yeah, those people definitely just walked in and were like, is that the Boddy right there? And you were just laying face down like in the PT table, just like completely out. It was the middle of the day too. And I was like, yeah.
How would they know?
I was like,
Did
that
I have
guy
my
owns
Boddy
the place.
jersey on? How would they know?
Yeah. Like, is that the Boddy?
Yes, that's right. It's the Boddy dude. He was working all night, probably reading Caravan Salad.
Yeah.
And then to sleep it too.
Just like 2 o'clock on a Wednesday.
I will be a gentleman, and I'll ask permission to tell this story, but I think everyone would love to hear it. Lindley, can I tell the internship story?
Oh yeah. That's Joe. That's Joe. God damn it!
All right.
Oh, by the way, alluded to on the Kyle Lindley interview.
Yeah.
We had a much listened to, not watched Kyle Lindley interview, just me and Lindley. But yeah, this will be. So better.
Was it alluded to, or is it okay if I tell the whole thing, or am I repeating, or no?
No, you can.
Yeah, no, tell the whole thing.
All right. So Lindley works as an intern with old Brady. Kills it. Does a great job. Both of them kill it.
2017, right?
Yep.
Yeah, the years blend together, man. I don't know.
Yeah,
it just feels. It honestly feels like 10 years ago, but I'll buy it. It's a testament to how much work we've done, honestly, in 4 years. And so 2017, so 2018, putting the intern list back together, and I'm hitting up Lindley, and I'm just like, "You're coming back, right?" Because Brady is.
Yeah.
Brady's playing his 9th year college. Like he's got to have something to do. Yeah. And and he's just like, oh yeah, I'm up for a big internship with a lot. I'm not gonna say, it's probably better not to say the company. And there's just like a big internship with a very well respected scientific measurement company in the field of kinesiology. And I was just like, dude, that's a big company. That'd be awesome. And it's local. Like that's great. You get to stay home, save money, and get experience. I respect it, And so then he does, and he gets the job. Doesn't come here. I'm pretty bummed. Like, but that's all right, And then I text him like a month and a half later, 2 months or something like that. I'm like, hey, we're gonna be in Phoenix, and we're doing an event. Like, do you want to make a couple bucks and like come out and slap some stickers on people? And he's like, for sure. So then he's like, I'm staying with my grandma in a hotel, man. And I'm like, all right, I'm not gonna ask any questions. That's weird, but all right, I'll be there. He's like, pick me up from the Four Seasons, dude. And I'm like, all right. So I go over there, pick him up, and it's probably not even a Four Seasons in Phoenix, so it's a lie. So I'm going and picking him up, and he gets in the car, and we're driving. It's me and Marsh and him, someone else. I think Brady. I don't remember actually. We're driving. It had to be because this is definitely also the origin of the carne asada fries. And the caballos, dude. So we're down there. I guess you got probably tell that one too. So we're just like driving. And it's a solid 4 minutes. We're going to Cobra Arcade Bar. We're gonna go play some games and get drunk at the greatest bar in Phoenix. And then Marsh. Whoa! Oh yeah, all right. You're right. Besides the one that I own, the other one that I own, of course.
That's right.
And so then, and the one that Matty D owns, obviously. So then we're going out, and we're stopping at Cobra, and like 5 minutes into it, I'm just like, "How's the internship going?" And Kyle's like, "It's good. It's hard. It's long hours. But I'm learning a lot." It's pretty interesting. And Kyle's just going on for like 40 seconds. And then Marsh is just like, Boddy, ask him how much it pays. And I'm like, what do you got? Marsh just blurts out, Boddy, it's an unpaid internship. And I'm like, what? You took an unpaid internship over a paid Driveline internship? You idiot. I even gave him $1 an hour raise. I was just like, are you kidding? And I'm like, you are a moron. I just started yelling at him in the car. I just call him every name in the book because now I'm heated. I'm like, are you kidding? You took an unpaid internship somewhere to not take a paid internship to work for me. And then Lindley, he's like, whoa, but hold on, Boddy, dude. Like, come on, man. He's like, I didn't know it was unpaid. I went into it. Because I thought it was paid, and then they just tricked me, and they just told me the day of. They just said, yeah, it's not paid. You can work whenever. And Lindley's like, what? And he's like, and on top of that, dude, he's like, I thought my roommates were going to be home, and then we'd be splitting the rent, and they're just not. And I'm alone, And I got to pay for everything. I pay for all the utilities. No one visits me, It's just me and a cat, I mean, some of that's true.
Didn't run the air conditioner during the day in the summer in Phoenix. Got home and the house was 100 degrees.
Unbelievable. So it's just a comedy of errors by Kyle Lindley. It was brutal. It was incredible. And then Anthony got so drunk one night. It might have been that night. He got so. What do you mean? Goddamn!
It was a different night.
What?
It was a different night.
Different night.
It was late.
Okay. Well, Brady got so drunk at it was definitely Cobra.
Yeah, it was.
He gets so drunk at Cobra Arcade Bar, and we go back, and he's like, "We got to stop at Federico's and get some food."
No, we tried to go to Cane's first. We tried to go to Cane's first, but Cane's was closed.
Of course.
So then that was our fallback. Go to one of the Bertos.
So go to Filiberto's or whatever.
Yeah.
Then we drink him through. I'm like, what do you want? And Brady's just belligerent. He's like, what? Carne asada fries. No caballos. And I'm like, I don't think there's horses in the thing, man. I don't think that there's horses. And he's like, you know what I mean? No caballos, man. And I'm like, I don't know what that means. Yeah, I don't think there's horses. He's like, no caballos. And I'm like, do you mean no cebollas? No onions, dude? Yeah. And he's like, yeah, whatever. No cebollas either. And then we order it, and then we bring it back, and then Brady just falls asleep, and he doesn't eat any of it.
I know.
It's wild, dude.
It's so bad.
I'm like, what are you doing? So then anyway, that was great. That's like every Phoenix Driveline trip. Between that and Brady just passed out, exhausted and angry on the couch. But that's a separate episode that we probably can't release for another 10 years, but yeah, that's what I got, dude. So that's a good closing story. But Caravan, I'll let you bring it home, dude. What do you got?
Oh, I was gonna say the only reason like I wasn't there to get Canes with you 2019 Sabres because I couldn't get in the club and you guys just went. I remember actually just a quick Boddy story. We'll close on this. I remember we're all
this is line. A Mike story. This is a Mike story if it's told right.
Yeah, true. We're all in line. I'm wearing questionable apparel. Mike Clevenger is getting us all in a pretty seemingly poppin' club from the outside, cutting a large line of very dressed for the occasion females and males, but pretty impressive that we're cutting the line. And then we're not sure if I'm going to get in. And Boddy looks at me and goes, I mean, if you can't get in, I drove here. We'll just drive back to Airbnb. I'm like, okay.
Caravan also has his backpack on. He has his backpack on with all of his stuff, and it's not like a nice backpack. It's like a very worn down backpack.
I never went to Airbnb. I hopped up from the plane to the conference to the networking event after the conference. From there to Matty D's house. Shout out. I got a ton of people over, man. Dude, you got 5 people over. Just tell me who you have over when I ask. We show up there.
Then we go to the club. Biddies here, dude.
then we go to the club. We're in line.
Hold on. You also fooled Dr. Alan Nathan into thinking that you were Eric Jagers.
Oh,
he probably still thinks you are to this day.
No. For 20 seconds, dude. For 20 seconds. I said who I was after 20 seconds.
That's a long time. That's identity theft, man.
But we're trying to get in. I get rejected. Boddy's about to walk in, just looks at me like, you know the code of Airbnb, right? I'm like, yeah. and then look up Uber. Price is crazy, like $60. It's still kind of early in the night, like 10, 30, 11. I never mind a good walk, as you guys know. So I walk a couple miles, getting kind of tired though. 1 a.m., go up to a taxi, $38, $40 maybe to the Airbnb that, I don't have a ride to because I couldn't get in the club as the rest of you guys did. So I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll send it on this. Put it on a company card because, the only reason I'm here is because of my company. And then, you use a little bit of slang when I send a reimbursement, and then our CEO, Mike Rathel, just blows me up. It just goes, I forget what he even said, just goes,
he didn't blow you up.
What in the world is this about? Explain further.
Yeah. And I said, I couldn't get in the club, man. I was wearing basketball shorts and a no juice hoodie and didn't have a ride.
Yeah, I backed you up though immediately when I saw your question. I jumped in. I was just like, "Oh, dude, Caravan got booted because he was wearing a pair of Adidas shorts from 1985 and just a hoodie that says no juice." Yeah. It's just like, what does that even mean? You know, and a Sonic backpack. Statement. Yeah, and then a backpack that had Sonic the Hedgehog on it. He's not going to be allowed in. You know, and then at the end of the night, Matty D got kicked out. It was a wild night. Yeah, wild night.
What a night.
That's still.
All right, we dropped enough dirt. We dropped enough dirt for V1 of this. Thanks for coming on.
That's a good way to end the podcast. We'll we'll see you guys next week. Thanks for coming on, Kyle.
Oh yeah,
that's right. It was a pleasure to be on the show.
Go.